And so I wanted to bring up some questions that I had for ChatGPT regarding COINTELPRO. And the question I asked was, can you outline COINTELPRO in regards to the Black American community and its ultimate goal, right? Because they always talk about what happened, but what was their end game? Right? What was the goal? Why did you even do this in the first place? Like, what were you trying to accomplish with COINTELPRO? And it goes into what COINTELPRO was. It was a series of covert, often illegal operations run by the FBI from 1956 to 71, as covered in the video. Its stated purpose was to monitor, infiltrate, discredit, and neutralize organizations deemed subversive, which means they just didn't go along with the government, right? They were like, the government, you're not doing what's right. We do have freedom of speech in this country. We are in a republic. We are not in a communist society. So we have a voice. So they took the different route. While COINTELPRO targeted a range of groups, communists, socialists, and anti-Vietnam War activists, Puerto Rican independence groups, etc., the Black community, especially its leaders, became the primary focus in the late 60s. You never really hear about these other communist groups or anti-Vietnam War groups being targeted and their leadership being eliminated. But as it says here, the Black community was especially targeted. So the focus on the Black community, civil rights leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and others were surveyed, harassed, and discriminated through smear campaigns. The FBI attempted to undermine King's credibility, including sending him an anonymous letter encouraging him to commit suicide. Yeah. That was sent to him from the FBI. Mm-hmm. So the Black Power and self-defense movements, right? The Black Panther Party was considered the most significant threat. The FBI infiltrated chapters, spread false letters to incite internal conflict, right? Fabricated evidence and collaborated with local police to raid and arrest members. Yeah. Programs like the Panthers' Free Breakfast for Children were labeled dangerous because they built trust and community power. Now, I started off with Amanda Seales and Officer Tatum's take on what she was saying and what she was doing. And that young lady that we started out with, who was very concerned, and I think, and she lost a lot of people that she loved. She kept saying, why can't we get back to community? What is wrong with our community? Well, when things like this happen in your community and you're not aware that they happened, right? Because here's my thing. You got to acknowledge. And then once you acknowledge and then you can truly move forward. Because then no one can lie to you again. Because if you see something trying to move in that way, you can be like, that's not going to happen. We're going to shut that down so that we can continue to move forward in freedom. Right? Because it said they built trust and community power. What is the main thing they keep telling the Black community? You guys don't trust each other. You don't know how to come together as a community, because when we start, there's disruption so that we won't come together. I need everybody to just kind of sit back and rest in that. Like, why don't they want a Black community to come together? They don't mess with other communities like this. They want the Latino community to be together. They want the Caucasian community to be together, the Asian community. Why is there such an attack on the Black community to be together? It makes no sense. But then again, it does. So community organizations and intellectuals, student organizations, Black cultural groups, and academics were also surveyed. Any effort toward Black unity, political mobilization, and economic independence was treated as a security risk. See, they want us to be good citizens, but they do not want us as a group, just as a people, to have peace amongst each other, trust amongst each other. That's what is a continuous fight against. And seeing, part of the interview with Amanda Seales and the other individual she was talking to, That's what I see. It's keeping that constant rift within the Black community, as opposed to really having a conversation of what can we do? What are the solutions? Because Chemo was saying, we need to look past our racial groups and remember we are children of God. And we do. And in that, yeah, we're all going to look different. But here's the thing. We should never, ever be told that it's wrong to come together. I can understand not putting who I am ethnically over God. Absolutely not. God first. But at the same time, I'm not going to not have it either. I love who I am, and I'm proud of the work that's being done by others in my community. And it should be. I should be happy that people are doing well. John AI, thank you so much for reposting the stream. Just going through making sure I'm not missing any comments. And of course, I am. So Q says, if you're lost, ask your parents why they didn't teach you. They might be just as lost. Very true. And Black Dave, Gray Wolf, Lovejoy gives up some claps. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. Yeah. There are things we just need to remember within our community. Self-love is, it's not easy. It really isn't. So the ultimate goal of COINTELPRO against Black Americans, specifically, the FBI's own internal documents make the intentions very clear. Now, here's my thing. Somebody at the FBI, they're targeting us. We're not making ourselves to be a target. Just saying. And AB 2000 says, putting ourselves first is putting God first. We've been generous enough. I hear what you're saying. But at the same time, you don't want to be caught up in ideology. And anything can become an idol, right? And so I hear where you're coming from, right? Because when you put God first, we're made in God's image. We are. And it's beautiful. Everything that we see every single day. And we should never apologize for that. But when we give it a status and we start to idolize it over God, that's the fine line. That's the fine line. And I think we're doing a good job as the descendants of slaves. I think we're doing pretty good, in my opinion. People that are foundational to this country, I think we're doing good. So their intentions were clear: to prevent the rise of a Black Messiah. That's what they were trying to avoid. It says this referred to a charismatic leader who would unify and mobilize the Black community nationwide. Figures specifically named included King, Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, which I guess he later named, and Fred Hampton. We know about Mr. Hampton. Okay, so these individuals they looked at as a Black Messiah. So they had to neutralize Black nationalist organizations, prevent them from gaining respectability, funding, and proper support. That's still going on today because they've been able to say, okay, Black people, you don't have a leader, you don't have leadership, you can't do this, you can't do that. Why are you messing with us? Why don't you go over there and mess with other people? Why don't you mess with the Latinos? Or why don't you mess with the Asians? Or why don't you mess with... No, you're constantly meddling in this community specifically. And I'm just showing you guys the feedback from ChatGPT. It says stop coalition building. Prevent alliances between Black organizations and other groups, Latino, Native, poor, white, anti-war activists, etc., which could have created a broad front for social change. Just looking for some comments, guys. Because my comments, I don't know why they just don't go down consecutively and I have to scroll back up. And AB says, we have the heart of God. He's pleased with what we're doing. Keep moving forward. Oh, thanks, AB. I appreciate that. So criminalize and delegitimize activism. By framing leaders and organizations as violent extremists, the state justified police raids, arrest, and surveillance. So they always said that's a violent group. That group is coming together to oppress other people. It's really interesting. And Black Dave Grey Wolf Lovejoy says, it's a turn RP is pouring love into us. Grateful to you, beautiful Black woman. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. You got another comment. I know these comments come up so weird to me. So I'll be like, okay, I'm following. And then I'll like pop in different places. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anybody's comment, but thank you so much for that comment. It says impact. So the assassination of freedom like Fred Hampton in 1969 at age 21 in Chicago police raid showed the deadly extent of COINTELPRO. The campaign sowed mistrust, divisions, and fear within Black movements. Many grassroots organizations collapsed under the weight of surveillance, infiltration, and criminalization. The broader effect was to stall the momentum of Black liberation movements in the U.S., weakening pushes for systemic change in policing, economics, and political power. We still see it today because today is the result of what they sowed then. But what's happening now is everybody's like, wait a minute, we see what you're doing. We can see the documents. We're not falling for this again. The programming is no longer working. And that's why I'm bringing up things that are psyops, things that we really need to look out for. So it asked me a question. It says, would you like me to make a timeline of COINTELPRO events against Black leaders? So it's easier to follow chronologically. I was like, yeah, come on, let's get it. Right. So the surveillance in 1956 to 60, this was the earlier surveillance, right? In 1956, FBI officially launches COINTELPRO, initially targeting the Communist Party USA. In the late 50s, the FBI surveillance extends to early civil rights leaders and groups like the NAACP and Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Now, remember, they talked about not only surveillance, but infiltration. So they positioned people and put people in the NAACP and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference to keep tabs on it and to make sure it didn't move in the way that it should have. Just imagine had the NAACP not been infiltrated where we should be at now, we would have been had reparations. That wouldn't have been a question. All of the monies going to the different cities that are specifically there for Black Americans, for businesses, startups, for anything that we need, because the money is there, we would have known about, but we don't, because it's not advertised and it's not made known to us, but it will be. We're working on it. But it's those things that have been happening. And I'm like, wow, okay. Things are opening up the way they need to be and the way they should be. And AB says they're still in the NAACP today. They are. That's what I'm saying. The infiltration started and it's still there. And it's been there since the 50s. So in the 1960 to 64 civil rights movement intensifies, right? So in 62, the Nation of Islam is targeted. Malcolm X is heavily surveyed. In 63, FBI begins an extensive campaign to discredit Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. King is wiretapped after his I Have a Dream speech. FBI sends him an anonymous letter urging him to commit suicide, threatening to expose alleged extramarital affairs. In 64, the Civil Rights Act passed. FBI fears King's growing influence as a national leader. Now, from 65 to 67, the rise in Black power, you've got after Malcolm X's assassination, not directly proven to be an FBI operation, but this group was under heavy infiltration. The FBI increases focus on Black nationalist groups still being targeted. 66, the Black Panther Party is founded in Oakland by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. In 67, COINTELPRO memos explicitly target agents to prevent the rise of the Black Messiah, target leaders like Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, and Elijah Muhammad and others. 68 to 69, the escalation of assassinations. In 68, April, after King's assassination, urban uprisings erupt nationwide. FBI doubles down on targeting the Black Panthers. The Panthers expand community programs, free breakfast, health clinics, which the FBI labels a threat. How can that be a threat when we are actually taking care of our community? Because you want us on the dole. Because as long as we're on the dole, you can control. I'm just saying, guys, like we just have to see it for what it is. 1969, on December 4th, Fred Hampton, a 21-year-old chairman of Illinois BPP, is assassinated in Chicago police raid coordinated with the FBI. Dozens of Black Panthers are killed or imprisoned, right, during this period due to coordinated raids and false charges. In 70 to 71, exposure and 70 ongoing harassments lead to collapse of many Panther chapters. Internal conflicts are fueled by FBI forged letters and misinformation. In 71, activists break into an FBI office in Media, Pennsylvania, and leak documents exposing COINTELPRO to the public. Public outrage leads to the program's official termination, though similar practices continued under different names. 71, the legacy. Many leaders, Angela Davis, Assata Shakur, Maluto Shakur, and Mumai Abu Jamal, etc., face charges, imprisonment, or exile connected to COINTELPRO era activities. The program left deep scars, distrust, fear, and fragmentation in Black liberation movements. Yeah, all this stuff happened, guys. And AB says the U.S. prison population changed dramatically around 1964. Before that year, mostly whites. Yeah, because they couldn't, and I know this is sad, because COINTELPRO was outed. Let's just say that. It was outed, and they couldn't use it as a weapon, which is how it was used. They had to subvert to other activities. This is where you get the crack epidemic. This is where you get the 1992 laws of so many men, especially Black men and fathers, being imprisoned. And AB says they were standing on business, breaking into FBI to get files to expose COINTELPRO. Yeah, they were. To let us know what was happening. Oh, this comment was from Black Dave. Yeah. How the prisons changed dramatically and drastically. Now, trying to get to it, because I did ask, I said, can you let me know if COINTELPRO used the FATE model? It's a PSYOP model that I shared with the show yesterday. And I'm looking at FATE in the sense of fear, arousing anger, turn, and exhaust. Now, that's one FATE model, right? And so it says, while FBI never formally named FATE as a doctrine, the acronym came into wider use later in military psyops. COINTELPRO's methods align very closely with this model. So I was looking at it, I was like, well, you know, the FATE model is pretty much the same thing, but it can be used in a broader sense and triggered at any time, and the media can disseminate it. So then I said, did they use the model of focus, authority, tribe, emotion? That in that sense of FATE, he says, excellent refinement. You're now pointing to another framework of psychological influence, right? So the focus, FBI flooded the press with negative media coverage, Black leaders highlighting violence while ignoring community programs. By framing Panthers as violent radicals, attention was shifted away from their survival programs, food, clinics, and schools. Letters and forged communications were used to distract leaders with internal conflicts, taking focus off larger organization goals. Yeah. I mean, and all these things happened. It is so crazy. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to find comments, making sure I'm not missing any or anyone, because it's really good comments that you guys are giving me this morning. Oh, and Black Dave says, thank you for digging into Chat GPT with logic and intelligence. You're welcome. I just wanted to ask some questions like, why is this going on? And AB 2000 says, this is why we're thankful for you, media outlet. We need more. Yeah, we do need more. We need more people that are going to be out there exposing this stuff. But when we're listening to the media, these are the things I really want you guys to pay attention to. That's why I keep pointing back to Amanda Seales. She is working within the framework of the fate model, but still under the COINTELPRO, how should I say, motivation. In my opinion, COINTELPRO, even though it was a program, it became an ideology very easily so, right? Because it's like, okay, you're targeting these people. We don't have to call anything COINTELPRO. We can just use this as an umbrella of ideology, just baked into how we move and how we operate. And this also extended from the FBI. And I'm pretty sure if you go through the records and documents of how they act, how they create, what they're doing. I mean, they even showed us, right? When I want to say when Elon bought Twitter, they admitted that they were following people, that they were strawmanning people, that they were actually infiltrating the social media platform with bots, so people would move and operate in the same way. They're still using COINTELPRO, just not calling it that. They're just not calling it what it is. There is a total difference. And Black Dave says, Amanda Seales blocked me early on after Twitter came online. Sorry about that. Right? You know, obviously you're effective. And it says, could you ask how we can combat the fate model? Well, let's see. So here we go with the distract leaders and authority. You know, FBI, they use law enforcement authority. Tribe, they internal divisions were engineered. Okay. And then emotion, fear through surveillance, raids, threats, and assassinations, anger by planning lies, and shame, hope, suppression. So that's how they were using the fate model. Because I was like, yeah, this makes sense. So it says, would you like me to turn side-by-side comparison? No. Well, let's ask it that question, right? So how can Black community combat the fate model, the fate psyop? Well, let's see what it says. Let's get the feedback in real time. I didn't ask it that question, AB. Thank you for that question. Got to give it a second. It's a very deep, practical question. Okay. So, as you see it type in, it says how the Black community can combat the fate psyop, countering fear, community protection, and safety networks, transparency, historical education, truth about COINTELPRO, so generations know the playbook and won't be blindsided. And that's what I'm trying to do here. Yeah. Still going. I know my computer's a little slow. Sorry, y'all. but it's coming along. It's coming along. And AB says, you're awesome. Oh, thank you. You're amazing yourself. And thank you again for everybody joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. Right now, we are looking at COINTELPRO and how it specifically targeted the Black community and was unapologetic about it. It's nothing that we are making up. It is what it is. And now we're seeing, well, what can we do to combat it? I know, because a lot of times we always talk about, we complain about it. Not, I won't say complain. We're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happening. Okay, well, how do we fix it? Like, what's the solution? Like, what are we doing? We can sit here all day long in our tears, get us some crying towels. But after that, 2 tears in the bucket, what are we doing? Where are we going from here? Y'all better get up. Look, you did not want me to be your mom. Okay, I got 3 girls. And I let them cry. I was like, are you done? Okay, get up. We got to go. Because you can't just sit here and wallow in your tears. They're not going to get you anywhere. But once you get through your emotions and you breathe and you take that breath, and with a clear mind, you are able to make long-term concrete decisions that lead to better life choices. That's the moment that we're in right now. And we can't turn back. There's no going back. Okay. We're not doing that. We're not doing vomit on the floor. No. We are going to move forward and move forward swiftly with our minds and our hearts intact, because those are the gifts that we've been given. And I've gotten a question. I just want to make sure I do this right. So Black Day says, have you covered Trumpism, MAGA, and or the Southern strategy? Not yet. Not yet, but I can get into that. And AB says, that's it. Let's find a solution. And we are currently implementing it. All praises. Yeah, we got to keep that moving forward. But I'll definitely look into that. Trumpism, MAGA, and or the Southern strategy. That'll be something good to look into. So it says countering anger, conflict resolution training, equip organizations with mediators and conflict resolution protocols, code of ethics. Don't feed the fire, right? I'm always talking about don't feed the beast. Countering turn, betrayal, vetting without paranoia, shared leadership, whistleblower culture, countering exhaustion, wellness and rest. You guys know I love Wellness Wednesdays. Sustainable organizing, institution building, applying the focus, authority, tribe, emotional model. Yes. So there is something that we can do.